Anthony Quinn did not arrive in Hollywood polished or protected. He arrived formed by hunger, labor, and survival. Born Manuel Antonio Rafael Quiñones in Chihuahua, Mexico in 1915, his earliest lessons were not about fame, but endurance. When his family moved to Los Angeles, poverty followed closely behind. As a boy, Quinn worked wherever he could: boxing gyms, construction sites, manual labor, anything that helped keep food on the table. These years carved something permanent into him, a lived understanding of struggle that later became inseparable from his performances. Unlike actors who learn toughness as a technique, Quinn carried it as memory. The exhaustion, the pride, the frustration, and the resilience all stayed with him. Even before the camera found him, life had already taught him how men bend without breaking. This foundation mattered because it shaped everything that followed. When Quinn eventually stepped onto sound stages and into costumes, he did not pretend to be hardened. He simply revealed what was already there, giving his characters a weight that audiences could feel even when they could not explain it. An unexpected doorway into art and acting. Before acting claimed him, Quinn believed his future lived in form and structure rather than performance. He studied art and architecture, disciplines that demanded patience, observation, and emotional restraint. A pivotal moment arrived when he crossed paths with Frank Lloyd Wright, who recognized something rare in the young man, not just talent, but expressive force. Wright saw that Quinn understood space, movement, and emotional presence, and he encouraged him toward acting, not as abandonment of art, but as its expansion. This redirection was not immediate success, it was a challenge. Acting required vulnerability layered over discipline, something Quinn would spend years learning. He entered Hollywood in the 1930s, a time when men who looked like him were rarely offered dignity on screen. Still, his artistic training gave him an advantage. He approached characters as sculptures in motion, shaped by pressure and purpose. This mindset allowed Quinn to survive long years of obscurity, knowing that craftsmanship, not recognition, was the real work. The door Wright opened did not promise fame, but it gave Quinn direction, enduring typecasting and finding his voice. The early decades of Quinn's acting career were defined less by opportunity than by limitation. Hollywood repeatedly cast him in narrow roles, often rooted in stereotype rather than substance. He played villains, foreigners, and background figures, characters with little interior life. Many actors might have grown bitter or withdrawn, but Quinn stayed. He studied, he absorbed, he waited. Rather than rejecting these roles outright, he treated each one as training, learning how to communicate depth, even when the script offered very little. His persistence was not passive, it was strategic. Quinn believed that eventually the industry would be forced to see what he already knew about himself. That belief paid off in the early 1950s when he delivered performances that demanded attention rather than permission. Winning Academy Awards for Viva Zapata and Lust for Life, he shattered assumptions about who could carry emotional complexity on screen. These moments were not sudden breakthroughs, they were earned arrivals. Quinn became the first Mexican-born actor to win an Oscar, not by fitting in, but by outlasting resistance. Zorba and the Art of Living Fully. If earlier roles proved Anthony Quinn's range, Zorba the Greek revealed his soul. Released in 1964, the film captured something audiences instantly recognized: a man who embraced life without apology. Zorba was joyful, reckless, philosophical, and deeply human, qualities Quinn did not perform so much as channel. By this stage in his life, Quinn understood that pain and joy were not opposites, but companions. His famous dance on the beach was not choreography alone, it was a statement. Zorba taught audiences that resilience did not always look like stoicism. Sometimes it looked like laughter in the face of loss. This role elevated Quinn from respected actor to cultural icon. It confirmed what his long career had been quietly building toward. Authenticity resonates longer than perfection. Zorba was not heroic in a conventional sense, yet he became unforgettable because he lived honestly. Quinn carried this lesson forward, allowing his later roles to breathe with imperfection and emotional truth. Through Zorba, he reminded the world that survival could be celebratory, not just solemn. A career of many faces and many arts. Across more than 150 films, Anthony Quinn refused to be contained by a single identity. He portrayed revolutionaries, artists, warriors, kings, and ordinary men, each grounded in emotional weight. From Lawrence of Arabia to historical epics and intimate dramas, Quinn brought dignity to characters who might otherwise have been flattened into symbols. Yet acting was never his only language. He painted, sculpted, and wrote, returning often to visual art as a place of quiet reflection. These pursuits were not hobbies, they were necessities. They allowed him to process the intensity of a life lived in public view. His creative output across disciplines reflected the same philosophy. Expression mattered more than approval. Quinn's work, whether on canvas or on screen, explored identity, power, and vulnerability. He resisted being reduced to archetypes even when the industry tried. This refusal defined his legacy. He did not seek to dominate Hollywood. He sought to leave something honest within it. His longevity was not accidental. It was sustained by curiosity, discipline, and an unwillingness to stop evolving. A personal life marked by contradiction. Anthony Quinn's personal life mirrored the intensity of his performances. He loved deeply, sometimes recklessly, forming long marriages while also engaging in relationships that reflected his restless spirit. Family mattered to him, yet stability often eluded him. These contradictions were not hidden, they were lived. Quinn understood himself as a man driven by appetite for love, connection, experience, and meaning. While these impulses brought joy, they also carried consequences. He was capable of devotion and betrayal, tenderness and distance. Rather than smoothing these edges later in life, Quinn acknowledged them. He did not frame himself as a hero or a victim of his own choices. This honesty, though uncomfortable, aligned with the way he approached art. He believed people were complex and that pretending otherwise diminished truth. In many ways, his personal struggles deepened his empathy as an actor. He understood how flawed men justify themselves, how longing and fear coexist. These insights allowed him to portray humanity without judgment, even when portraying deeply conflicted characters. Breaking silence about Charles Bronson. Late in life, when Anthony Quinn finally spoke openly about Charles Bronson, his words were careful and measured. There was no rivalry in his tone, no need to compare achievements. Instead, Quinn spoke with recognition. He saw Bronson as a man shaped by hardship, someone whose silence was not emptiness, but protection. Quinn understood that Bronson's restraint, his minimal dialogue, and his guarded presence were not limitations imposed by lack, but choices born from survival. Where Quinn thrived on emotional exchange and creative chaos, Bronson relied on distance and control. Yet Quinn respected this difference. He believed Hollywood often misunderstood men like Bronson, mistaking quiet for coldness. In truth, Quinn saw a working man's honesty, someone unwilling to soften himself to fit expectations. Bronson's strength, in Quinn's view, came from refusing to perform vulnerability when silence spoke louder. By breaking his silence, Quinn reframed Bronson's legacy, not around toughness alone, but around authenticity. It was a generous assessment, offered without spectacle, and rooted in shared experience rather than public myth. Stepping away and finding stillness as the years passed, Anthony Quinn gradually withdrew from Hollywood's constant noise. Fame no longer interested him as it once had. He sought quiet, space, and reflection. Settling in Bristol, Rhode Island, he found peace overlooking Narragansett Bay. The water, the changing light, and the slower rhythm offered something he had rarely known: stillness without restlessness. In this final chapter, Quinn returned more fully to art, family, and contemplation. He reflected on his life not with regret, but with acceptance. He understood that struggle had shaped him, but it no longer needed to drive him. This withdrawal was not disappearance, it was completion. He had said what he needed to say through decades of work. When Quinn passed away in 2001, at the age of 86, he left behind a body of work that spoke louder than any farewell interview could. His choice to step back mirrored his philosophy. Life was not about constant visibility, but about living truthfully when the spotlight dimmed. Legacy rooted in authentic strength. Anthony Quinn was buried beneath an old maple tree in his own backyard, a resting place that felt profoundly fitting. There was no grand monument, no performance even in death. His legacy does not rest on awards alone, though they mattered. It rests on the truth he carried into every role and every reflection. Quinn proved that strength did not require perfection, silence did not require emptiness, and survival did not require bitterness. His words about Charles Bronson reflected the same understanding that defined his own life. Authenticity endures longer than image. Quinn lived fully, imperfectly, and without pretense. He allowed joy and pain to coexist, both on screen and off. In doing so, he expanded what masculinity, resilience, and artistry could look like. Long after the films fade from memory, what remains is the feeling he left behind, the sense that a real human being had stood before us, unmasked. That more than fame is Anthony Quinn's lasting strength.